everyone, and welcome to CRAMSURG, Clinical Research Appraisal and Methodology for Surgical Trainees, where we pick a paper fresh from the press on a hot general surgical topic. We review it for you, we present it for you, we critique its methodology for you, and provide top-of-the-field expert opinion and teaching on research appraisal and methodology. My name is Gio Perrin, and together with Professor Sababala Subramanian and Maria Digby, we bring you CRAMSURG from the wonderful region of the Yorkshire and the Humber.
Swap. There you go. Can all see it?
Yeah.
Yes.
I won't take too long. We're going to carry on our statistical tests guide. Today we're going to talk about another type of correlation that's called Kendall's tau. And I know what you're all thinking. Do we really need another type of correlation? Well, yeah, it does help to an extent, and we'll soon find out why. Usual disclaimers: I'm not a statistician or an expert in stat software, but I kind of like them and use both of them. These are the things that we talked about so far, and I will refer you back to the videos that we've recorded and published previously. We've now talked about quite a lot of things, from students, D, ANOVA, all the way to correlation. And today we're going to complete our series on different types of correlation techniques. There's more out there, but we're going to stop after Kendall, mostly because the other techniques are not really very commonly used. And of course, we look at how to run these tests on our favorite statistical software, which is Jamovi. We're going to carry on talking about continuous data, but we're going to make a little sort of intrusion there and mention a test that's particularly suitable for ordinal data. And if you're a bit confused about the concept of continuous data, ordinal data, etc., I'll remind you that we do have a fantastic video from Prof about different types of data. But basically, ordinal data is data that is continuous to an extent, but it does have a start and a finish. For example, grading system, ASA, or functional status and stuff like that. As I said, we're going to use our favorite stat software, which is Jamovi. If you're interested in knowing more about Jamovi, you can snap the QR code over there that sends you straight to their website. It's really easy to use, as you will see. Now, quick recap. We talked about two different methods of assessing correlation between two variables, particularly for continuous data. We start with Carl Pearson here on the left. It's probably of the three statisticians you see in this picture, the one that started first. He's introduced the world to a number of concepts, including regression to the mean, etc., etc. What you see in the middle is Charles Spearman, who designed a slightly different technique to assess correlation, which is very good for data that's not normally distributed. And finally, Kendall. Kendall is probably the one that sort of came after them, in chronologically speaking, but he had an immense impact, not just in the statistical world, but also in other areas, such as he was the director for the World Fertility Survey, which ran up until the 80s, and had a significant impact in the way most of the family planning policies are now implemented in Europe, in the States, and in various countries across the world. So his impact has been rather long-lasting, and he had a number of interests. Similarly to Fisher, he started his career looking at agricultural sciences, and he did quite a lot of research in how to apply statistics to improve, for example, crops production. Now, let's get into the actual topic. We talked about Pearson correlation. And we talked about how Pearson's correlation basically looks at a statistical relationship between two variables and how to calculate it. And we said that it works really well when the data is normally distributed. If the data is not normally distributed, we got Spearman's correlation. Spearman correlations, instead of using absolute values like Pearson's correlation does, he uses ranks. What are ranks? Well, a rank in a variable is the position that that particular value takes in a distribution when the values of the distribution are ordered from the smallest to the biggest. This is an example that I gave you last time. Suppose you've got 4 plants of cannabis, and you want to determine whether there's a correlation between the height of the plant of cannabis and the number of grams that the plant produces. On the left, you've got a table that illustrates plants by their number and the centimeters of height and the grams produced. On the right, you have the same values but ranked. So as you can see, 25 centimeters ranks as the second smallest value in the distribution, and 3 ranks as the first or the smallest value in terms of grams produced. And by using ranks to run your calculations to determine correlation, you kind of take off the picture a lot of the effect of weird values that are too high or too low. You kind of transform a distribution into something a little bit more normal, and then you can assess the relationship between the 2 variables, even when the distribution is not normal, as I said. And what does ranking do? As we said last time, it reduces the effect of outliers and it makes it more reliable in nonlinear relationships. However, it does still have some limitations. And that's where Kendall's tau kind of comes in. One of the main limitations is that some relationships do exist that are not monotonic. What is a monotonic relationship? A monotonic relationship is a relationship between 2 variables where when one grows, the other one somehow grows. They might not grow in a linear way, but they do still grow consistently in one direction. But there are relationships such as the one you can see in this fantastic chart that actually are there, but they're not necessarily always growing. And you can think of a number of examples where these things happen in nature. For example, some enzymatic reactions, etc., etc. An enzymatic reaction, for example, would be pretty poor performing at low temperature. It will gain maximum efficacy at the right temperature, and then as the temperature goes up, it will go lower and lower. That's typically a non-monotonic relationship. But the relationship still exists, and really no Pearson nor Spearman correlations work really well in this context. So what did Kendall do to make this work? Well, he used still ranks, but he also compared ranks of different pairs of variables. That is to say, he didn't just look at ranking each single value in its own distribution, but he also looked at the relationship between different pairs of values across the distribution. And I'll give you a more practical example to hopefully make that more understandable. If you look at these 2 tables, you can see on the right, it's slightly changing. They are slightly different. So in this table, which is the first one I've shown you, the ranks are not ordered from the smallest to the biggest on the middle column. In this one, they are. Okay. So each of these values are considered a pair. What Kendall's does is it compares this pair to this pair and determines, sorry guys, whether the pairs are concordant or not. So for example, if I compare this pair and this pair, okay, rank 1 and rank 3, and rank 2 and rank 1. Rank 1 and rank 3, the ranks are going up. Rank 2 and rank 1, the ranks are going down. So this is considered a discordant pair, if that makes sense. Because again, rank 1 for one variable and rank 3 for the other variable. Look at this as a pair. For the first variable, the rank is number 2. For the second variable, now rank is number 1. So these 2 pairs are suggesting that the relationship between the 2 variables is not consistent. If we look at the second comparison that we run, so we have compared this pair with this pair, and we're going to compare this pair with this pair. We got rank 2 and rank 1, and rank 3 and rank 2. this is a concordant comparison because the ranks are both going down here and are going down here as well. I hope this makes some sort of sense. And please feel free to raise your hand or just unmute yourself if it doesn't. But if you think about it and you start looking at the way a variable behaves in a chart and how each point compares to the other one, and then you look at if that behavior is concordant or discordant, you pretty quickly realize that even in a relationship that is non-monotonic, you can still spot a relationship because the ranks will be going up and then down and then up. And as the distribution carries on from the lower to the highest value, you will be able to pick up relationships even if they are shaped in a weird way. I hope that makes some sort of sense. It certainly does to me. There are, however, circumstances where things are a little bit weird, such as when you have ranks that are tied, such as the fourth one in the table we were looking at earlier on. Kendall, at the start, didn't really have a way of dealing with this, but then he figured it out. So there actually are a number of different types of taus correlations. The one that we use most commonly is tau B, and tau B does take into account this phenomenon of tie ranks, if that makes sense. The interpretation of the actual numerical outcome of the correlation coefficient is the same. So 1 is positive, -1 is negative, and everything else sits in between. Technically, there are some forms of taus correlation coefficients that cannot reach complete correlation because of the way the math is run. And finally, just a quick reminder that correlation and causation are not the same thing. Now, this is the third time I mentioned this, but this is part of a sort of fun satirical type religion that is called Pastafarianism. And one of the important things that this religion supports is that there is a relationship between the global average temperature and the number of pirates, and that this relationship is inverse. Obviously, this makes absolutely no sense, and there is no such thing as a relationship between the number of pirates and the global average temperatures. And we all know why the pirates are disappearing. So what I'm trying to say is that correlation does not mean causation, regardless of what type of tests you run to try and establish whether there is correlation or not. So let's close with an example. I collected data about papers that were advertised on Twitter by Publishing Journal as part of my dissertation. And I collected likes data, and I want to see if they're correlated with citation data. So it's the exact same example we used last time, but this time we're going to run it using Kendall. So as usual, let's open our overall data set with Jamovi. And similarly to last time, we go to regression, correlation matrix, and we said we were going to look at likes and relationship with citations. And as you can see, it's pretty easy. You just select Kendall's tau, remove Pearson. You can also do Pearson and Spearman, which we discussed last time. And if you like, you can also have a correlation matrix drawn for you over there. So again, it's extremely easy to do in Jamovi. You can then determine also whether there's any correlation, positive or negative correlation. You can also flag significant correlations with some asterisks. Right, that's as simple as that. Thank you very much.
Thank you everyone for tuning in and listening. Until next time, keep running your life with our surgical question.